Hey, lovelies. Welcome to another episode of Ish I Saw on TikTok. I'm Janelle, the relationship coach behind The Successful Invisible, and I wanted to come to you today with this one. The male loneliness epidemic isn't about loneliness, it's about lost access to women. So let's get one thing straight before the comments start shaking. When some men say they're lonely, air quotes, they're not talking about a lack of connection. They're talking about a lack of access to emotional labor, financial support, access to comfort, access to sex, access to a woman who will regulate their moods, access to a woman who will manage their lives and absorb their unprocessed feelings, and sadly, access to a woman who will absorb their abuse. And somehow we're supposed to call this a crisis instead of what it really is, a skill gap paired with entitlement and a bit of laziness. This video is not about shaming men for feeling lonely. It's about telling the truth about why so many of them are. Because loneliness doesn't come from being single. It comes from not knowing how to build community, communicate like an adult, or treat women like human beings instead of resources. And if that truth makes you uncomfortable, good. Growth usually does.
I see another creator talk about this, and I just want to reinforce because I also believe that the male loneliness epidemic is not real. You niggas are becoming obsolete. I think men are getting priced out of the dating market because masculinity is less about physical labor and financial stability, but now also emotional intelligence, creative intelligence, adaptability, and leadership through connection. Women's standards has risen because societal structures has evolved. It's not just about financial stability and provision anymore. If your future outcome depends on your present output, men are being priced out of the dating market. Like today, women have their own education, money, and independence, so naturally they look for men who have shifted as well. It's part of evolution. And inevitably, this was going to happen. More emphasis on emotional intelligence, charisma, and ambitions, and somebody who respect their freedoms. The problem is a lot of men are operating on an old model, something that might have worked 40 years ago, and then get mad when it don't work out for them. It's like working in tech. If you only know basic code and you never learn anything about AI, eventually your job gonna be obsolete, bro. Like me personally, when I hear stories about men dealing with women, I never had them problems. Like I don't understand. I don't see these type of women that you guys talking about, but I think because of how I carry myself, like I always done well with women, whether it was romantically or just in my friendships. I always treated women with respect, but I also respected myself as well. And that's the power of exuding confidence and self-respect, because even the most high value women will soften up. And it's not about dominance, it's just about polarity. And that happens when male energy communicates safety, decisiveness, and even direction. The woman's energy naturally complements it with trust and receptivity. Naturally, I wouldn't teach my daughters how to be housewives. Like amongst a bunch of other things, I will also teach them how to analytically think, abstractly, and also creatively. And women these days, they're not going back to the 18th century. So I don't know where direction you think that women are going, but it's not where you guys think. My advice to men would be just get better, bro. Get better, learn to adapt, because as our world develops, us as a species is going to develop as well. Learn more tangible skills, learn more communication styles, such as develop your emotional intelligence. Develop how you actually approach and talk to women, and expectations that you have for them, because I guarantee they will rather die behind their freedoms. And if you're going to fight it, you're going to lose every time.
Why do I struggle to take the men's loneliness crisis seriously? Now, let me preface this with, when I am talking about this and the particular people affected by it, I am not talking about the adolescent and young, very early 20s males who have not really explored much of the adult world. I come from an education background. I was a high school teacher, now I'm a college instructor. I've been spending all of my career working with and trying to educate young men about these issues. The people that I struggle to have sympathy for are the adult men in the world who are dealing with this issue. And that is because this is a self-inflicted wound. Men are the ones who have decided to uphold this toxic masculinity that we are now forced to live under in a patriarchal society. They are the ones who made it difficult for themselves to be emotionally open to others, have and maintain friendships outside of their own marriages, learn to effectively communicate and self-regulate their feelings. And then the men who do this are just shunned and laughed at by other men. This is the equivalent of somebody shooting themselves in the foot, screaming loudly about how they shot themselves in the foot, and then denying any medical treatment whatsoever. And now you, as a 30-plus aged male adult in the age of unlimited information, have not once considered, maybe I'm the problem. Because I know there is at least one person in your life who has brought this up with you and your behavior and your actions. There are just so many more important issues that were not created by the people affected by them that I think are much more worth devoting time and effort to. Because men, you need to sort this out for yourself. And I'm sorry, I don't care. Now, obviously, there are caveats to this. There will always be those people who really just they were, a lost cause from the very beginning and they had no chance of being able to develop or evolve at any point in their life. They are the exception, not the rule. So to the men who complain about the men's mental health issues or the men's loneliness epidemic, why don't you stop complaining about it, what everyone else should be doing, and focus on what you and you within your community are doing to resolve this matter? And if I seem a little blasé about the suffering of my gender as a community, allow me to just remind you, they did it to themselves!
The male loneliness epidemic doesn't exist. What you're discovering is that you don't know how to speak to the women of 2025 and you're having some difficulties. So what you have to do is stop resisting all the information that people are putting out there, because there are a bunch of women on here and they're talking constantly about what they see in men and what they don't like. And if you're doing any of that stuff, then it's maybe time to change, right? What? Some dudes really strive hard to put a woman down in conversation, and you know what dudes I be talking about. Like, let a girl say that she play video games. First knee-jerk reaction out of most men is like, what game? No, you don't. No, you don't. Wow, you play on your phone? You're not a real gamer. I mean, logically speaking, how is a woman supposed to feel safe to have a real conversation with you if all you are is dismissive? Anytime she shows interest in sports, game, and other medias and stuff like that, you're always putting her down, and then you'll say women don't like us. Well, they don't like you. I don't know about us, but they don't like you. If you're that type of man, that's just you. And you're alone for a reason. And until you change, you'll always be. And you'll continue to keep Jergens in business, because that's the only thing you're going to wake up next to.
The male loneliness epidemic is fake. You men are just horrible people. If it's hard to attract women, you're likely the issue because the bar is in hell. There's a lesbian on TikTok with a series where she goes on Tinder and asks men one simple question: what's your most controversial opinion? Out of the 1,000 responses she got, a vast majority was something racist, misogynistic, or about pineapples on pizza. About 3% was something insightful. About 14% was something liberal or left-wing. If you treat women respectfully, have an interesting hobby, and a decent level of social skills, it will take you a long way in dating because the competition sucks. I can't tell you the amount of women that have swooned over me just by offering to cook for them. Because you men aren't doing that.
Have you listened at all? It's about men who mistreat women and get mad when they don't have a girlfriend. They will never get one if they don't change, but they refuse to change. This is a comment left by a girl named Ava who's trying to argue that there's a male loneliness epidemic, and I personally don't believe there's actually a male loneliness epidemic. And then I pointed out the fact that men are the ones who are choosing not to show up to singles events and women are. So if men were really so lonely by your definition, they absolutely would be flocking to singles events where women are looking for boyfriends. And Ava tried to argue that the actual reason why men don't go to singles events is because it's a little awkward for them and they just feel less confident. Yeah, if men are crucially so lonely, it's a loneliness epidemic, they could get over it being a little bit awkward, because guess what? Dating as a whole for men is extremely awkward. And what's so ironic is the girl who's writing this comment saying men who mistreat women, they just can't get girlfriends. Her most viral video is her talking about how she stayed with her ex-boyfriend despite her being mistreated the whole entire time. So if men can't get girlfriends because they're mistreating women, why did you stay with your ex-boyfriend so many times despite him mistreating you? Sounds like if anyone's going a loneliness epidemic, it sounds like it was her. The reason why you see this statistic where most men are single in comparison to women is because most men can get the benefits of what a relationship will bring while also not committing to a relationship. Like I stated in my last video, a lot of women save money when they're in relationships. A lot of men spend money, so there's no real incentive for a man to be chasing after a bill. Reality is, if you go and look at some of the top value men, like the richest and most wealthiest men who have the most options, a lot of them are technically by definition single. Trust me, I can assure you, those men definitely are with other women despite them being single. And if you go look at the girls who are deemed to be the most valuable women, they're in relationships because relationships benefit women. A lot of women will tell on themselves because they'll be like, no, I have to take care of these men. All they do is cheat and they mistreat women. Yeah, the men that you get because you can't get a quality man. That's why you had to stay with your ex-boyfriend despite him literally doing horrible things to you, and you think it's a joke for a TikTok trend. So more of the story here is that the male loneliness epidemic is actually real. And things like it being awkward, forced small talk, and pressures of dating events wouldn't hold a man who's crucially so lonely back. If men were really that lonely, they would be flocking to singles events to go meet women who are looking for relationships. As yes, even when men mistreat women, people like you will stay because they have no respect for themselves. So I know it might be hard for you to accept, Ava, but a lot of men are choosing to be single because what can they get in a relationship that they couldn't get from a non-committed relationship? But that's just my opinion today. What do you think?
Listen to me, I'm not pandering. You either figure out how to get along with these women or you're not going to be in the gene pool. There's a few men who's been stitching and commenting on the video I made a little bit ago where I talked about how there's no male loneliness epidemic. You guys are just being naturally selected against. And I'm here to double down on that. You can't complain about women as much as you want, bro. Get it off. Here's the thing. You could be 100% right about women. They could all just be about hypergamy, and they all could just be whores, and they could all just only want you for your money and only want the chats. All that could be right. Bottom line is this. If you don't figure out how to get along with these people, you're just not going to be in the gene pool. Like, a lot of you men are trying to live out this white supremacist, hegemonic, patriarch type ideal life where if you got enough money and you this and you that, all the women, you're going to have your pick, a selection of the women. Women don't operate like that, bro. They just don't operate like that. The idea that a woman will always select you if you have money or if you fit, this patriarchal, hegemonic, template, that only works if women are oppressed. If women have choice, then who they procreate with is going to be different. If society is more equal and more fair, women are going to choose differently from who they procreate with. Like I really wish y'all little boys would just go touch grass. Like, genuinely. Like, just go outside. You will see a fat man with a woman who is in love with him. You will see a nerd with a woman who is in love with him. You will find a very skinny, not masculine man with a woman who is in love with him, and none of them are super rich or super famous or any of that stuff. Like, y'all don't touch grass. It's like that's why y'all don't get along with women. Everything you know about women comes from men. And what I was trying to explain to you guys in that video was most of what I know about women comes from women, comes from treating women like they're human beings, like they're smart enough and intelligent enough to tell me about who they are and their experience as human beings. And so what I was trying to help y'all understand was that is ultimately why I have better relationships with women, better, like, I've been able to be friends with women. Like, I've never, ever, ever understood when y'all was like, men and women can't be friends. I'm like, yes, y'all can. Like, just treat them like regular people. The natural selection is in women's choice. It's always been, right? Until men came along and established patriarchy, who gets to pass on their genes has always resided in the hands of the women. I'm trying to give y'all a perspective because I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I've already put 3 in the gene pool. Like, I'm good. Like, again, as far as I'm concerned, I'm a handsome, emotionally intelligent. I can hold a conversation. I'm an active, present father. Like, I will never, ever have a problem passing on my genes. Like if I want more kids, I can have more kids, be in their life, work out a great relationship with them. Like, I'm not going to have this problem. Like, I'm strictly speaking to y'all men. Like, I promise I'm good. I don't need nothing I'm talking about right now. Okay? But y'all hardcore gotta accept that, like, that women are the natural selectors, bro. Like, your genes will not get passed on if you do not learn how to get along with these women. And literally, history is just gonna say you're a loser. Like, that's how history is gonna call you a loser. History is not gonna take your side 100 years from now, because there will be no one to take your side. You didn't pass anybody on. And because you're actually a loser. Like, women like sex. Like, women they like doing the D. Like, I don't know what, like, you're literally a loser. Like, you literally don't know how to get along with another human being. Like, that is a skills issue, bro. That is a skills issue. Get off the internet. Stop listening to men who, have bad relationships with women in their life, or who see women as objects, or who tell you that you need to be a certain way in order to have women in your life. It's all BS, bro. It's all BS. Number one, decenter women from your life. You don't even know how to be a man without talking about women. When you start talking about being a man, you talk about protecting, providing, and all that. Protecting who? A woman. Providing for who? A woman. You don't even know how to be a man without decentering women. That's why they don't want you, bro. That's why you're being naturally selected against. I got 3 in the gene pool, bro. I'm Gucci. And if I want to put more in, I feel great about my perspectives about putting more in. Right? Like, I'm strictly trying to help y'all. All right? Like, accept what I'm saying. Like, I know it doesn't seem like it's fair or whatever. It is what it is, bro. Figure it out.
Talking about like male loneliness epidemic, but I feel like when you start to use that terminology, it makes it seem more as if it's a sickness that can't be cured, or that it's like it has an unknown origin. But like, the truth of the matter is, the same way that white supremacy has collaterals, there are white people that are going to suffer under white supremacy. Men are going to suffer under a patriarchy, one that requires men to be exploitative, basically emotionless, and damn near machine-like. You have to almost become a mythical status to be valued as a man, and that means exploiting other people or pushing them to the side. Duh, you're gonna be lonely. Like, this is not a mystery. And so, even if you have men that may not participate in patriarchal advancement to the extent that, like, they're fully red pilled, they're exploiting women for the sake of feeling like a better man, it's like, a lot of niggas don't know how to conduct themselves. They don't know how to truly express the emotions they weren't allowed to. They don't know how to cultivate themselves in a way that isn't in adherence to a masculine standard. And so, of course, you find a lot of people lonely, because it's either this pursuit of ultra pseudo masculinity has left them lonely and without, or they're lonely and without because they don't know how to build themselves outside of that. Like, that's truly what this is. And even the men that prop themselves up on this old, traditional, outdated idea of masculinity, they're not the most happy either. They may have, material things, status, but internally they're not secure. And that behavior starts to leak out. And so it's not that there's an epidemic of male loneliness, but rather this social conditioning has hit a plateau. And so now a lot of us are suffering because everybody's breaking down their walls, trying to figure out who they are, and a lot of us are still left behind to pick up the pieces. Especially if you're poor. Like, what are you gonna do to figure out your masculinity when you got bills to pay? Like, it's kind of a culmination of societal pressures and economic turmoil for the working class and just the common man in general. That's all it is. I mean, that's the best way to explain it. I don't like this camera angle because I ain't gonna lie to y'all, I don't look the same. Something about me don't look the same. But anyway, that don't matter. If you fuck with this yap session, or you fuck with just what the words that be coming out of my mouth, watch my YouTube channel. Because I'm trying to come out with a long-form video essay about separating the art from the artist and what that truly means. But also, read my comic E-Kings on Webtoon. I'm actually working on it. I wouldn't say right now, but I've definitely been working on this new chapter a lot quicker than the last one. So honestly, please give it a try. All of it's free. My YouTube and Webtoon is free. So why not give it a try? You don't have no reason not to. But anyway, I thank you for listening. Thank you for your time.
Why is the male epidemic fake? Because, in my opinion, when cishet men are saying they feel lonely, they have a skewed definition of what loneliness means. When they say that they're lonely in reference to women, what they're really saying is like they're missing women like they miss their favorite tool or their favorite toy. What they're saying is that they're missing what a woman can do for them. They're missing out on the free labor. They're missing out on the free punani. That's what they're missing. When they're like eating nasty food that they cobble together or spending a bunch of money on food, and in their mind, they're like, man, if I had a wife, I would have somebody to cook for me. I'm so lonely. When they have to do their laundry, man, if I had a wife, I would have somebody doing my laundry for me. I'm so lonely. When they're horny and they want to poke on something, man, I'm so horny. If I had a wife, I could just have, because whether she's into it or not does not matter. That's his wife. She's supposed to be available for him. If I had a wife, I could be having sex right now. Man, I'm so lonely. And even when they say that they're seeking intimacy and connection with a woman, what they really mean is, I'm looking for someone I can trauma dump on. I'm looking for a container for all of my emotions because I can't share them anywhere else. I have no connections, no intimate relationships with men. I have no intimate relationships with anybody except for the women in my life. And so I burden them unnecessarily. So when I say I'm looking for connection, what I really mean is I'm looking for someone to listen to all my problems.
Male loneliness epidemic. Men are not making friends. They're not connecting or reaching out to people. Guys, I feel so fucking stupid I bought the narrative. Because it's not just a male loneliness epidemic. Yes, men are also lonely, but it's actually all of us, women too, and everybody else. Because a recent study from Pew Research of this year finds that 1 in 6 Americans, 16%, say they feel lonely or isolated from those around them all or most of the time. This is an equal response between men and women. What's the biggest difference? Men and women both equally say they have at least one close friend, and most do. But women just happen to talk to their friends more. Men just aren't talking to their friends. Yet we are both experiencing the same rates of loneliness. We need to stop making this a male-focused conversation and make it a community, like everyone is included in this conversation because this issue is affecting all of us. I know some men are going to be pressed in the comments. I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at the narrative that has been pushed onto you. Because yes, you're going to take this as a personal attack because you've been taught that it is all about you. There's a reason it's called a male loneliness epidemic and not just a loneliness epidemic. If we actually want to get shit done, if we actually want to build community, this is the shit we need to start waking up to and recognizing so we can actually make real change.
Men really need to stop yapping about the male loneliness epidemic and take a look in the mirror. I like doing photography as a hobby. I really don't know much about the technical aspect of it. I'm not trying to be a professional photographer by any means. But I like taking pictures. I have a good eye. I'm creative. I just enjoy taking photos. So I thought that I would join the photography club at my college because I do have a camera and I enjoy taking them. And I thought I would meet other like-minded creative people who also enjoy taking photos. And I also thought, hey, maybe I will learn something and the people there that know more than me can teach me about the technical aspect of it. So I show up to the meeting today and the first thing I notice is that it's mostly, actually it's all men. Now, at first, I decided to give them the benefit of the doubt, and then I quickly learned why it's all men. I quickly learned why there are no women at this club. So we log on to the computers because they wanted to do some Photoshop, and there was software already built into the computer. So we're just going to download the photos from our phones and transfer them onto the computer so we can use the software editing. So I was trying to send the photos to myself as an email because my Google Drive was being a pain in the ass. It was not working. My phone is really old and I have no storage, so a lot of times apps don't work correctly. And this one guy in particular was trying to help me, and at first he was pretty chill, but I did get the general vibe vibe that he seemed very arrogant and full of himself. I could just feel the energy. So the photos are taking a long time to send. Like, the email is taking a long time to send to myself because, like I said, my phone is old and I don't have a lot of storage. So sometimes things take a long time. And this man looks me dead in the face and goes, "How old are you?" Just like that, in that tone. And I said, 23. And he was like, "Okay, well, you seem a little bit illiterate when it comes to technology." Just like that, word for word. I didn't even know what to say. Listen, I am not the best when it comes to technology. I will admit that. But why the hell would you word it like that? Have you never talked to a human being in your life? I said to him, the photos are sending. He didn't even hear me. He just kept talking. And he literally goes on the computer. He tries to send an email and he goes, "So this is the send button." He goes to the little paperclip icon, you know, where you send attachments. And he goes, "This is how you send an attachment." Oh my God, I was about to punch him in the face. I was like, I know how to do that. I'm in college, so I know how to do that, considering you have to submit your assignments like that. And I was like, I am waiting for the photos to send. And I show him my phone and I said, "See, they didn't even send yet. So there's nothing that I can do on my end. I'm waiting." And he goes, "Oh, okay, well, you just seem pretty illiterate when it comes to technology. Like, it should not take that long to send an email." It was like he wasn't even hearing what I was saying. He just wanted to be a dick. And I get my stuff and I was like, "I'm gonna go. I really don't think this is the right club for me." And he's like, "Oh, I didn't mean to offend you." And then he's like, "Do you want me to log out for you?" And I was like, yeah, since I probably don't know how to do that, you know, since I'm too stupid. And I walked away. I also just want to point out that before this whole ordeal, he was talking about how he got kicked off of the board of E because he had lower than a 2.5 GPA. But he wants to call me stupid. Okay.
Men will spend like 18 hours a day on Reddit and then be like, "Oh, there's a male loneliness epidemic." No, go outside. Literally wipe the Cheeto dust from your hands and go outside. Take a shower. And it's so crazy because I'll see men that are like, "The male loneliness epidemic is..." And I'm like, you are loudly announcing to everybody that you have no game. You're posting that with your face and name attached to it. Wow. Because every guy that I know, like, I'm not even exaggerating, every guy I know is doing fine. Like, doesn't matter how much money they make, doesn't matter how tall they are, what they look like, none of that. Like, no, they're doing fine. It's called just be nice. Treat women like people. Crazy concept. You can't sit in your mom's basement and play Minecraft for like 80 hours a week and then wonder why you're not meeting any women. Go outside. Go in the real world.
And the male loneliness epidemic is a skills issue because the patriarchy never taught boys how to relate to each other and form community. Make sure to stay until the end of this video so that you can let me know your honest thoughts. Patriarchal thinking teaches us that all relationships should be transactional. That's why you see so many men in the comments asking, what do they get from women? What do they get for paying for a date? And this extends to their friendships too. I've got like 4 examples of this from the past week alone. Did you guys see that video of that guy who did that thought experiment? Asking his group of I think there were 6 guys there, supposedly his friends, about his very recent breakup that caused him to move across the country. And verbatim, he said he was devastated by this. Breakup happened very recently. And the guy asked his friends, the name of his girlfriend. They had all met her, by the way. And not a single one of these guys could name ex-girlfriend. My fiance went through something very, very similar as well. He has a really good friend who he's known for decades. And this guy recently went through a breakup. We literally offered to sublet him our place because we were in between places and we had an empty one. My fiance was going to give him a mattress to sleep on, took him out for a beer, dropped him off at work that same night. My fiance's friend has only reached out once to ask about how his ex-girlfriend is doing and if my fiance can check in on her. And my fiance, rightfully so, declined doing that because it's none of his business. And after that, he's still not hearing from him. He has to check his Instagram stories to make sure that the guy's still alive and breathing. And he found out through Facebook comments that he moved back to the East Coast away from where we were all living, Las Vegas. For example, from this week is I have this client who paid for one of his friend's bachelor parties. He paid $6,000 for the weekend and 12 guys were supposed to pay him back. He has yet to hear from the majority of them. Oh, and the last one. I went to a UFC fight this weekend at my buddy's house from a Muay Thai gym. I was raised, when you're invited to somebody's house, you bring something, no matter how small. So we brought like a beer, I made homemade mac and cheese, and I was the only person out of 15 dudes who brought something. To me, it feels like men form these relationships just to say that they have friends, but not to actually foster any sense of community. Because patriarchy has warped their minds into thinking that it's enough that they just show up for things. Because everyone wants a village, but nobody wants to be a villager. And I think that's why Americans villainize socialism and matriarchy, because they are beliefs that the collective should be prioritized over the individual. Even though our government selectively uses socialism in order to feed, employ, educate their soldiers, it's bad for everyone else, right? Because as individuals, we are perfect consumers. In nuclear families, we are perfect consumers. Think about my friend's UFC party. For making mac and cheese and buying a 12-pack of beer, maybe we spent like, I don't know, $20. And if everyone else would have brought something, we would have had a really lavish spread to choose from for not that much money. And think about that poor guy on TikTok whose friends didn't know anything about his life. If you don't care about people and their well-being, then you don't have to invest time, energy, and money into the relationship. All of these negative things that we are seeing happening to men are a result of patriarchy and the complacency of men. But let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you made it to the end, congratulations. If you agree with this message, make sure to hit all the buttons, especially repost. I can't wait to hear your thoughts. And if you are interested in intersectional feminism, definitely check out my health and wellness blog. It's free and it's in my bio.
Let's jump into my favorite part of all of the content I post on YouTube, and that's just my thoughts, where I get to kind of express what I feel about whatever we have read or gone over. So let's get into it. All right, let's jump into this. So, as I like to do in these videos, there are 5 main points that I want to pull out as a relationship coach to really make sure we break down and explain so you all, the viewers, can really understand how this is working and what to look for in your own dating patterns. Point number 1. Loneliness isn't always about missing love. It's often about missing support systems and outsourcing them to women. So a lot of the viral male loneliness epidemic content that we see, especially on TikTok, but also here on YouTube, isn't actually about wanting partnership. Most of these men do not want partnerships. They don't like women, okay? It's about wanting the benefits of partnership, emotional regulation, domestic labor, social planning. And a lot of these men also want the financial support because they are homosexuals, or they want a woman to be paying their bills without doing any of the work of reciprocity. So how you watch for this when dating is if a man frames a girlfriend or wife as a fix for his life, food, laundry, motivation, emotions, if he treats intimacy like an entitlement, like a wife is supposed to be available and a wife is supposed to have sex with her husband and all these things, and he's not weighing what he is doing in reciprocity and in terms of pouring into the relationship. And then also overall, he calls basic reciprocity too much, but expects unlimited access to you. We see this a lot of times in the clips when people are talking about, when we're talking about like birthdays or important dates to them, that their men don't show up, don't support, and don't celebrate, but the men expect these women to do that for them. So when you're out in these dating streets, ask, what does support look like in your life outside of dating, right? Ask a man that. If the answer is basically, I don't have that, you're being auditioned for a role, not chosen for mutual partnership. Leave, block that man, because he doesn't have the anchors that are needed to not lean on you for everything. This matters because strong social connection is a major protective factor for health and well-being, and it's not supposed to come from one person. Now, to be clear, this isn't saying that a man that doesn't have the best relationship with his family or those, or has a lot of friends isn't a viable option for a partner. That's not what I mean. But if he, at his big age, because we all grown here, is not able to articulate how he goes about getting support from those in his circle, even if he has a therapist, he volunteers, he belongs to different organizations and stuff like that, know that that work and labor is going to fall on you if you were in a relationship with that man. Point number 2, the skills gap is real. Many men were socialized out of emotional expression and community building. And many men also were not taught basic life skills, okay? Depending on older generation of parents, they did not teach their sons these things: cooking, cleaning, adequate hygiene, etc. Your text nails a key dynamic, okay? Some men don't have practice with vulnerability, repair, or consistent friendship maintenance. So they default to isolation, then try to solve it through dating, right? We've seen these stories on TikTok plenty of times when a woman will come on and say, she was vibing with a guy through the app. They go on a date and he like dumps on her emotionally. That's an example of that because he's probably felt isolated in a way. The other side of that is he could be intentionally manipulating her because he is trying to exploit her empathy. So watch out for those things. Also look for a man who has friends, but no emotional intimacy with them. Like, you're dating a guy and he has friends that he watches football with, or he's been friends, every weekend, or he's been friends with since college, but he doesn't know anything about that man's life, like his kids' names, and if the man is married, the name of his spouse, and like things that you should know about a person that you have close personal relationships with. Also watch out for if he can't name what he feels beyond angry, tired, or stressed. Red flag. He is emotionally stunted and he needs to grow and develop on his own. That's not your work. Ladies, that's not your work. Another thing to look out for, conflict becomes avoidance, shutdowns, or defensiveness instead of repair. If you cannot come to him and have a healthy conversation, even if it's a healthy agreement about any dynamic or something that was said or done in the relationship, especially at the beginning phases or the building of that relationship, that man does not have the skills to emotionally pour into the relationship to the degree that you probably need. Now, he's not an automatic throwaway in terms of block his number, but you need to really move with caution. Use a 3-layer question early. Number 1, who do you talk to when life gets hard? Number 2, how often do you see them? And number 3, what do you actually share? If he has no real answers, he's not ready to co-create emotional safety with you in the context of a relationship. Remember, traditional masculinity norms are associated with emotional restriction and reduced help seeking, which can worsen isolation. So a lot of these men are victims of the patriarchy, and I use victims with air quotes, but they are subjected to these harsh realities of being in a patriarchal system, but it is their work. I repeat, it is their work to unpack that shit, not yours. Point number 3. Don't get trapped as someone's therapist girlfriend. Trauma dumping isn't intimacy. A repeated pattern, and I just mentioned this earlier, in this genre of content is I want a connection. What it really means is I need somewhere to put my feelings because I've built no containers elsewhere, okay? I was just referring to the women who say they've gone on first dates and a man dumps on them, right? So what to watch for when dating? Early oversharing with no accountability. So he says something like, my ex ruined me, or everybody betrays me. That is very much an external locus of control mindset, and that is very close to incel ideology, okay? And a man who is not willing to do any self-reflection. Also watch out for if he uses you to regulate his moods, but resists therapy, journaling, or self-work. You are not a support animal, ma'am. Do not allow yourself to be used as such. Also, look out for if he confuses attention with closeness and intensity with bonding. Okay, let me repeat that again. Watch out for if a man confuses attention with closeness and intensity with bonding. So a relationship coach tip I really want to give you here is practice the boundary line. I care, but I'm not the place for that level of processing. What support do you have for this? That's a boundary. That is a strong boundary stated very, very astutely and empathetically. A healthy man hears that and adapts. An unhealthy man tries to punish you for it or blames you or has some type of meltdown. This matters because public health guidance increasingly frames social connection as essential, and that includes having multiple sources of support, not one romantic outlet, right? Point number 4, a man's loneliness is not your job to fix, but his character is your job to screen for. Let me repeat that. A man's loneliness is not your job to fix, but his character is your job to screen for. This is the discernment, ladies, that we all need to have developed, okay, or be developing. Your text, especially in the beginning stages when you're talking to a man, and if he's texting craziness and how he can't wait to, be with you, and he's just doing too much too soon, that intensity I was referring to earlier, he's confusing that with closeness. He's trying to fix his loneliness through you, okay? Some men struggle socially. We know that. Arrogance, contempt, inability to self-correct, and poor interpersonal skills are some of these things that we often can observe in a man's character early on, especially even through his text messages and messages on dating apps, to see if is he a potential candidate for a long-term partner. What to watch for in dating is condescension. If someone says something like, "You seem illiterate," correction is humiliation. Jokes, remember I always said men don't tell jokes. Jokes that degrade. But any man that's joking with you, even if you're a woman who is into that type of humor, a man that's pranking you, that's not okay. He apologizes only after consequences, such as you leaving, not after awareness. He calls women too sensitive when they name disrespect. He is gaslighting you. Get away from this man. A relationship coach tip I want to share with you here is to screen for baseline kindness with low stakes moments. Service staff, small inconveniences, misunderstandings. If he can't be respectful when nothing is at stake, he won't be respectful when you need care. He won't be respectful when things are serious, right? And you really need his buy-in. You really need his support. So loneliness and isolation are linked with negative health outcomes. So yes, it's serious, but the solution is social skill building and community, not entitlement to a girlfriend, which means the men have to do their own work. Then lastly, point number 5, the data does not support men lonely, women fine. It supports we're all struggling, but coping differently. So understand that loneliness is not exclusively male, and the bigger gender difference often shows up in how people maintain relationships, who reaches out, who talks, who builds community. Don't let a man use male loneliness as a guilt lever to lower your standards. Don't ever let a man guilt you into you giving him access. He is a dangerous person. That's a very predatory behavior. Get away from him. Pay attention to whether a man acts like something, like someone is building a life, friends, hobbies, reciprocity, or someone waiting to be rescued. A lot of these men, as we see on dating apps, they want to be rescued. And we mainly see it from a financial standpoint, but it's more so a lot of men have not done the work within their own lives to build themselves and grow in these areas. So they're waiting for a woman to step in and do it for them. That's not your work. A relationship coach tip I want to share with you is vet for community habits. Does he initiate plans? Does he show up for his friends? Does he bring something to gatherings? Does he know how to repair conflict? A man who can't be a good friend usually can't be a good partner. That's not always, because there are caveats. But in a general sense, for a collective of males, that usually applies. A data point I want to mention here is in AARP's 2025 reporting. It highlights loneliness as widespread and shaped by life circumstances, work, caregiving, finances, not just gender. And that's something that a lot of men choose not to even understand, especially as women are higher percentages of caregivers than men. So let me know your thoughts below on this male loneliness epidemic. And I plan on making many, many more videos about this from different perspectives, because it is a very broad and large conversation that we're continually seeing on social media. If this conversation made you pause, question old narratives, or finally put words to something you felt but couldn't quite name, that's not coincidence. That's awareness. And awareness is where better dating decisions begin. You don't need to argue with the internet or over-explain your standards, or carry the emotional labor of fixing broken dynamics that were never yours to heal. If you want to go deeper, past the hot takes, and into real clarity, discernment, and confidence in how you date, I invite you to join my exclusive coaching community on Coffee. Inside, we unpack these patterns in real time, sharpen your intuition, and help you stop mistaking pressure, potential, or pity for compatibility. Check the links in the description box below. We'd love to have you.